as we mentioned, like we like to romanticize pre-prohibition. We love to romanticize the whiskey industry, and to be able to stand so firmly in the fact that this is truly our history and this is everything. And like someone in a room didn't, with a marketing degree, didn't like think of something that like sounds cute.
Welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey Lifestyles Women in Whiskey series. I am your host, Rashawn Hall, and this week we are talking to a brand ambassador from the storied James B. Beam Distilling Company. Welcome in, Allie Klug. Allie, welcome to the Whiskey Lifestyles Women in Whiskey series. Thank you for being here.
Welcome to my storage closet, fresh from
Yeah.
the tin building.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, Allie is in a storage closet because she was kind enough to make time for us on her busy schedule, and this is where we found her. So she's kind enough to do that. So thank you, first of all, for just chilling in the storage closet.
You're kind
Uh,
enough to have me, so I'm here for it.
Our pleasure. So I guess first off, tell us a little bit about Allie. How did you get your start in the spirits industry? Just a little Allie 101.
So like my parents were very much just also like, we're just gonna note that I have a Madonna mic on right now. It's fine. My parents were very much of the like mentality that they're like, oh, if you want like to spend money, you have to make money. Like, we're not just gonna hand it to you. So I got a restaurant job because that's the easiest thing to get right as a kid. Um, and we would have all of these people come in and train on like wines and all this other stuff because like, you have your pre-service shift moment. Um, and the more those people came in and started talking about beer and wine and spirits, the more I was just like, is this a job? Can this be a job? Like, how do I get, how would I start looking into something like this? Like, how would this be something that I could do? Um, because the more I learned about it, the more exciting it seemed to me and the more I wanted to dig deeper. And so I ended up signing up for the Wine and Spirits Education Trust program. So they have several certifications, they have a diploma, a lot of different opportunities for education within this particular company. And they have classes like all around the world. And there is one in Midtown Manhattan. I lived in New Jersey at the time, but getting into Midtown was very easy for me. So I signed up for the first class, and it was kind of like from there, I never wanted to stop. And I did kind of start off a little bit more focused on wine and then just kind of realized that the spirits industry is a little bit more my speed. I'm not, maybe not necessarily, like, I'm not serious enough for wine, although there are some people that'll probably come back and be like, that's not true. Blah, blah, blah. But like, yeah, I like to like be a little bit more relaxed, to be a little bit more loosey goosey and fun. And it was just the perfect fit. And so from there, finding this industry and finding that path for myself was like step one. And then from there, I just kind of did every single job that was available to me to try and figure out what was the right place within this industry for myself. And I realized pretty quickly that like education and experiential moments and like creating an experience and a journey for someone was really where I fit, and where it the hard work didn't feel like work, and I never really wanted to stop. And so thankfully I figured out that being a brand ambassador is basically doing that. So I was very, very lucky to find this position and to be welcomed onto the team with open arms. And I just hope that I never have to look back because it's just been so amazing. And I've never felt more like at peace and at home in a job before in my life.
Well, that is amazing. So were you behind the bar? Were you in the restaurant world, or you just kind of just front of house and then went into this?
All of it. So I mean, when I first started, I was like 17. So they didn't just immediately have me behind the bar because I had like no experience, and I also couldn't even like drink legally. And I think in Jersey, you have to be 18 to serve. So it was one of those moments where like I started off as a host, and then realized I was like, oh, I could get more money doing this. How do I do this? And, it was a little bit more of a fine dining situation. So I like became a back waiter and then became a server. And then I was, well, how do I do that? And and that was a little bit further into like me realizing that was what I was really interested in. And flavors and creating has always been something that has come a little bit easier to me. I grew up with my Italian grandma. So, like, if you know anything about Italian cooking, like, we've never measured anything in our lives. It's like until it feels right or until it smells right or tastes right. So just like flavor development and creation was something that always just kind of came a little bit easier to me. So I remember like distinctly them being like, we need to figure out what to do with X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, what if you did this? And they're like, that actually is a really good idea. And so I started creating cocktails before I was even behind the bar. And then they were like, wait, if you're making our menu, why aren't you back there? And I was just like, I don't know. It's Jersey. Like what what really makes sense? Nothing. So it's fine. Um, and then as I started to get further into the program with the WST, I actually ended up going for my diploma. It was a lot, like it just took up a lot more of my time. And so that's when I actually ended up moving to the retail side of things at a liquor store. It's like one of the biggest liquor stores in the country. It's called Wine Library. Um, so that I could study and like write my papers and everything like that, and not have to worry about like getting off work really, really late. And so I actually ended up being in the retail side for a while. And that's what moved me to New York because I got an offer to like help open some retail stores out here. And after I think about 5.5 years, I want to say, in Manhattan doing that and running those things, I that's how I started to make my way back to the on premise and back behind the bar and more on the spirit. I was always a spirits buyer. I was doing at the last spot I was at. I was doing all this like education. We had a space for that, so I was creating classes for our consumers and doing like book launches for people, and it was really fun and exciting that I was like, oh, I've done everything I could possibly do at a retail store. Like it's time to like start to continue to learn and grow and expand. So that's how I ended up getting back on the bartending side. Have like bartended a handful of places that do still exist, don't exist, may or may not have been a circus. Um, to the point where I like started managing. Um, the last place I managed was Mace, the new location on West 8th Street. So like did the whole like top 50 bar thing and was just like, I'm really tired and old and my back hurts. What can I do that's not like lying on the floor, like fixing the dishwasher at like 2 a.m. on a Saturday?
Okay. But I imagine all that experience comes in handy. What, yeah, to your point, like when you are now educating other, bartenders, servers, et cetera, on the Beam portfolio, which we'll talk a little bit more about. How did that? I mean, again, having all of those experiences when you do what you do now, how does that interplay?
I think it just allows me to understand better where people are coming from. So like it lets me change my focus and my priorities depending on my audience pretty easily because I've done every job. So depending on like if you're talking to a server, you are going to have some different talking points and different educational moments that you're going to focus on a little bit more versus talking to a bartender because like their interactions with their consumers are different versus talking to someone at a liquor store because their interactions are different and they're looking to sell a whole bottle versus like 2 ounces of the spirit, like it's very different and people's needs are different. And so ultimately like your relationship with the whiskey is all kind of like boiling down to the same thing. You want someone to think about and to care about what they have in front of them, but how the path to get there is always going to be a little bit different depending on your audience. So like being able to pull from all of these different experiences and meet people where they are, I think is always a plus.
And now, so you're the East Coast brand ambassador for James B. Beam Distilling, which obviously everyone knows is Jim Beam, but they have a much wider portfolio. Tell us a little about the portfolio, and give us the pitch that you obviously do so well when you go to, when you're in market.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest parts of the our team, there's four of us, including me, covering the country. One of the biggest parts of our journey is just getting to people to understand that the breadth of what we make and like the huge reach that we have as a distillery. So, we've been a company for in different iterations for like 229 years. Jacob Beam laid down the first barrel in 1795. Like, it's weird to think about that. um, but one of the really big pivotal moments for us was when our sixth generation master distiller Booker No created the small batch collection. So it came out, it's in completion in its entirety in 1992. He coined that phrase. It doesn't have a legal definition to it, but we make less of these products than we make of Jim Beam White Label, obviously, because Jim Beam White Label is the biggest selling bourbon in the world. So we laid down our first barrel in 1795, but where we really pivoted and was with our sixth generation master distiller Booker No. So in 1992, he completed the small batch collection. The small batch collection really is just, that phrase means nothing. There's no legal definition, but he coined that phrase because we're making less of these products than we are making of Jim Beam White Label, it being the number one selling bourbon in the world. Obviously, like, there's going to be a good amount of it being produced. We may or may not be going through like 30-ish trucks of grain a day there. It's fine. Uh, but the small batch collection started with Booker's, like, named after himself. It was a really beautiful, like, very organic moment of this blend of barrels that he was making for his friends and family in his neighborhood. So it was being poured into old wine bottles, wrapped in newspaper. That's why that bottle is shaped that way. That's why the label looks the way that it does, because it was very much like the beginning times and like the organic way that this blend came to fruition. So that was the start of the small batch collection. The next step was Knob Creek. So we also make Knob Creek, and that is our pre-prohibition style whiskey, big, unctuous, bold. But my favorite like saying when I talk about it is like, it's a pre-prohibition style whiskey with all of the benefits and bells and whistles of modern distillation. Because, like, let's be really honest with ourselves, like, as much as we love to romanticize pre-prohibition anything, we don't want that whiskey. We want the whiskey we make today. Like, there's a reason why we've changed and grown and like modernized some of these things, because like we've learned how to continue to grow, right? So Knob Creek with the bourbon and the rye that we have. And then the next step was Basil Hayden. So Basil Hayden is our high rye bourbon that we make. It's a little bit, but even though it's a high rye, like someone thought, well, you should go to like spicy and zesty and all that stuff. Basil Hayden's a lot more like delicate and approachable and soft. And I think for me, it is like, it's the whiskey that meets people wherever they are in their whiskey drinking journey. So like, if you're newer, it's a great bottle to grab and start to kind of like experiment with. But also, it's what I like to drink on a Tuesday when I don't have, and not worry about Wednesday. Like, I'm not drinking 138.2 like cask strength. Like, it's a beautiful 80 proof, like easy. I also love it because it is like so versatile in ways that you don't see whiskey being able to be versatile, like in aperitif style cocktails and like places where you would normally maybe grab an unaged spirit. Like, it can play in that space. And then he finalized it with Baker's, and Baker's is obviously an homage to Baker, who is still with us. He lives a couple doors down from the distillery. It's so cute. Baker's 13 comes out, like, that sweet, sweet man, like, comes down, signs bottles, kisses babies, shakes hands. Like, he's still very much a part of our whiskey journey. Baker's was not originally a single barrel when it was first released, but it is a single barrel now. So it's 7 years old, 107 proof, and like, we get to have this really, really special moment because single barrels are so unique. Like none of them are, the next one is not the same as the one before, is not the same as the one before. So while there is a consistent flavor profile for it, you're still getting something that's really special. Like all the information's on your bottle. You can see where your barrel lived while it was aging. And like, it's just such an homage to the wildness of Baker, his leather jacket, his motorcycle, but also just this homage to how truly special like aging, like natural aging and the environment, um, and how at the end of the day, we've got a we got a friend. How at the end of the day, you know, there's only so much you can do as a person, and the rest is left up to nature and the liquid and the barrel. Like, and I think there's just something so beautiful about that because like it's this it's this combination of like, and this moment especially in our lives today where like everyone's talking about AI, and there's just certain parts of this process that like you're never going to be able to like have computers take over because you need the human touch and you need the humidity and the air and the environment and all of that like really beautiful synergy coming together. So we have that small batch collection that, as I mentioned, came out in 92, and that was like this real big push of innovation. We've continued to grow those specific brands as well, as I mentioned, like Baker's becoming a single barrel, but also we expanded Basil Hayden. So we have 100% malted rye, we have a dark rye, we have a toast, we have limited limited offerings that only come out, for that year and are never to be seen again. Um, we have the single barrel program for Knob Creek. We released a American single malt last year called Claremont Steep, which like it is one of my major passions of getting out in front of people because it's such a beautiful bottle. And like American single malt is a category that we don't know a lot about because there aren't a lot of legal structures around it, and there aren't a lot of TTB laws when it comes to American single malt. So it's like a really beautiful place to play and a place for creativity. So ours is 5 years old. It's actually aged in a char 1 barrel, which is so unique. It's the only commercially sold whiskey out there that I can find that's aged in char 1. Um, and it allows all of these really beautiful notes from barley that like you don't usually get to celebrate because either barley isn't the main focus or it's being hidden behind the caramelization and the charring of the barrel. I haven't seen a single bartender make the same thing with it. And that's so much fun to see people really get creative because they don't feel like they're in this like classics box that they have to stay in with some of these drinks. Um, and just to kind of see how this category progresses. And then on top of that, we also have old granddad, and Old Overhaul is kind of where we're really putting a lot of our time and energy into right now because we just released A Overhaul. So it's an expansion of that family, going back to the roots of Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania style rye. Overhaul came about in 1810 in Western PA. Monongahela is the river that runs through that area of Pennsylvania. So a lot of times it's referenced as a Monongahela style rye. And what that means is you're looking at no corn in your mash bill. So it's 80% rye, 20% malted barley. Um, the like, it's just like these notes of like these really beautiful, like roasty banana bread. Like, it's just such a fun experience because it's like we're all so used to Kentucky style rye, and there's a space for that, and it's beautiful, but it's really fun to like start to move into different flavor profiles and different spaces with this. And I can't wait to see as it starts to like continue to like spread throughout the country, um, how people play with that as well. That's going to be really fun. Um, we have Little Book, which is Freddie's passion project. It is there's a lot.
I was gonna say, now that you've named all these lovely whiskeys, I'm gonna make you pick a favorite. I'm not gonna do that. But what is it?
Hey,
Yeah.
don't do it.
Right,
But I
but
mean, the thing is for me, like the reason why I can't and the reason why I wanted this particular job with this company and this distillery is because like I'm so mood driven and like my favorites of everything change all the time, but like
Mhm.
we as a distillery, like we make it. We're not like putting our label on something else. We're not sourcing or anything like that. Like we make these whiskeys and we make something for every moment. So whatever you're in the mood for, whatever you're trying to do, whatever the pairing is, whatever like kind of day you had, like we make a whiskey for that.
I love that. And not only that, you've mentioned several of the no family members. What is it like working, with this storied family? I'm sure, you get a fair amount of time with them. What is that, what does that mean being in this industry and getting to work directly with them?
I think one of the really beautiful things about James B. Beam is it's not even just the fact that we're sitting on our seventh and eighth generation master distillers like Fred and Freddie working in tandem, working as father and son, and seeing them bounce ideas off of each other and like allowing these innovations to like come to life. But even if you're just like moving throughout the distillery space, that generational impact is in every space within our distillery, in bottling, in barrels, like in innovation, in quality testing, like in like the science lab, like for the people who take care of our yeast strains. Like it's just a company that has had so much loyalty and so much history and so many roots like throughout every single aspect of what we do. And to be able to see that and to be able to see like such a rich community within Claremont and Frankfurt and Boston. Yes, there's a Boston, Kentucky. um across the board is it just warms your heart because there, as we mentioned, like we like to romanticize pre-prohibition. We love to romanticize the whiskey industry, and to be able to stand so firmly in the fact that this is truly our history and this is everything. And like someone in a room didn't, with a marketing degree, didn't like think up something that like sounds cute to try and sell a bottle that like it's so genuine and it's so real. And to be able to like be walking like up the hill from one distillery to the other and just someone be like, yeah, I'm sixth generation in the like the dump room when we dump the barrels before like filtration and bottling. And it's like, that's so rad. It's so cool. So like it just like it's a testament to the way that this company functions and to, how much people believe in the master distillers and what they're doing and then what Booker and Fred and Freddie have created for us to be able to go out there and be a part of.
And I think what's equally amazing is that you get to, the average consumer can get to see that, and you guys have this beautiful newish distillery, a couple of years old, if I recall right. That is like this beautiful large scale. You get to feel all of that. What is it? Someone's going down there. What do you recommend? What's a place that you love? When you like, when I hit the distillery, I love. Is there anything particular spot in the distillery or on the tour that you recommend folks definitely check out?
Well, honestly, before you even get to like a space, it's just like I always recommend that people like take a moment and just breathe and like smell the whiskey in the air and like feel that moment because it's so special and it's so unique. Like to just be able to like feel whiskey all around you at all times. Like that's not something that you get to say very often. Um and just to kind of like be in the moment, I think is really like, especially with our like touring facility, like you're right on the edge of the Bernheim forest. There's all these really beautiful rolling hills. We have all these rick houses that have been in development and created between 1934 and now. Like you're just surrounded by so much history that it's really nice to be able to just like take a second and take it in before you start kind of like, like getting into the nitty gritty and all the details and all the nerdy stuff. I always recommend again, having that kind of moment when you get a chance to get into one of the rick houses as well. Like that for me, that's my favorite. Like being able to see like all the barrel candy and everything coming out the sides and like um just like feeling like the wood like move beneath your feet, and just to like look out the back and then just like see the forest, or like just this expansive moment of like true rural Kentucky. And then I always recommend that you finish off at the kitchen table. So the kitchen table is our bar and restaurant. We actually use our yeast strain for the pizza dough that they serve there, which I think is really cool. But like everyone there, it's everyone on that facility, like it's just to be able to like listen to them talk, like you can tell that they don't want to be anywhere else, that like they love where they are. And like it's such a great moment to be able to have.
And you talk about taking a moment and taking it in, and in working in this industry where yes, it is long nights, and like you said, were running bars up at 2 a.m. How do you find what centers you? What do you when you're not doing this? How do you reset?
I am very lucky. I have found a amazing set of friends here in New York over the last 11, 12 years that I've lived here, that no matter like how crazy things get, no matter how hectic things are, we always find the time to be around each other, to support each other, to allow someone to vent or to ignore or to laugh or to cry. Um, that they're just like the kindest souls. And I I don't know how I got so lucky between them and between my friend. Like I still have 3 of my best girlfriends from home that I always have who aren't in the industry. So like even if I wanted to talk about it, they have no idea what I'm talking about, which is kind of refreshing. They're like, "Alex, shut up. We don't know what you're saying. Can we talk about like this like new, I don't know, like ironing board that I want to buy?" No one talks about ironing boards. I don't know why that was the thing that came into my brain. Like, although my friend did message about a lamp the other day, should have said lamp. Um, so I have like my set of friends from home that I've known since 5th grade, freshman year of high school, since I was 18. Like, and that they like forced me to come out of it because like they just don't even like, they're literally like, "We don't know what you do. We don't understand it. So like you can say it, but like it means nothing to us." And then my friends here who like who are in it and do understand it, but like it's real. Like none of us are looking to get something from the other person. So it's just a really safe and comforting and supportive space. So yeah, I'm so dependent on the people in my life, because those real connections like are how you ground yourself. Because I talk all day, but I'm not like having like, they don't know my mom. They should. Barb's amazing. Um, but like, yeah, just that real genuine human connection is like a lifeline for me.
For people getting in the industry, and even women or people in general, what's a piece of advice that you said? Someone says, "Oh, I you meet a bartender or a server who you see a little bit of yourself in where you were back then, and you say, how do you do what you do? Like, what's that piece of advice you give them?"
It's kind of like it's a three-pronged moment, I guess. Like never be afraid to ask questions. Don't think it's inappropriate or I shouldn't ask that. Like if you have the question, ask it. People can choose to answer or not answer you. That's up to them. But if you never ask the question, you're never going to hear an answer. Um, Find someone that you do feel comfortable asking questions with, as like a little as a mentor, who can guide you through some of the things. Because when I was coming up, we didn't have the law that we have in New York now, where like the pay rate had to be posted with the job title, right? Um, or you know, even if, and then people weren't comfortable talking about it, or people didn't want to tell you what they did within that job. And it's like having those open conversations and asking those questions so that you can have a better understanding of like what the real ask is, and like what your goal is, and how you can move forward with your job and with your company, or with your ultimate goal that you're reaching for. Um, so finding a mentor or finding a person that you feel comfortable with to help you kind of figure that out. And sometimes it is doing the thing that you want to do, or sometimes it's okay to find someone that's like in the industry or does something a little bit different to like expand your knowledge and your skill set. And then my biggest thing is just like advocating for yourself. like being confident enough to know what you want and like know what you're going for and being able to ask for that, right? Being able to negotiate for a salary if you think that they're lowballing you, like, or if you think that maybe they paid a man more than you and they're not giving you as much as because you're a woman, which 100% has happened to me in my life, right? But because we don't have those conversations, we don't ask those questions, like we don't know that it's happening. Um, just being able to create those boundaries for yourself so that like you are taking care of you while being the best employee that you can be, because if you are not like filling your own cup, you can't fill others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then finally, since we always like to end with a little bit of fun, and obviously everyone will have seen the outtakes, but this was a really fun interview. What since you are a Jersey person, I am a Jersey person. I'm gonna ask you, other than Barb, what are your top 3 favorite Jersey things?
Well, clearly, as I mentioned, Barb is numero, but she's off the table. Um, so I love I don't think a lot of people like give enough credit to Jersey in the fact that like it's called the Garden State for a reason, right? I have this constant battle with my friend Janice, who just moved here from San Francisco, but even before she moved here, we just like literally yell at each other about whose tomatoes are better. So just like, but I grew up in a part of New Jersey that was like that had a lot of farms and was very close. That was right on the edge of a wildlife foundation and a swampland. So I was always surrounded by these really beautiful access to fruits and vegetables and pumpkins and apples and Christmas trees. And then also like, my parents still call me and are just like, there were baby groundhogs in the backyard. Like we think they had a family. Like how cute. Like, um, so my favorite thing is it truly is the Garden State for a reason. And I don't think like, obviously if you're driving through certain parts of it, that isn't necessarily the impression that you get. But if you just go a little bit to the right or the left, you do get to have that experience, and it is like really beautiful and quiet and lovely, and I enjoy that. I loved that no matter what direction I went, I found something fun and exciting. So like if I personally went a little bit to the left, I'm in the city, or if I just go straight down, I'm at the shore. Um, Shore culture is obviously like very unique and fun, but like not at all what you would like expect if you'd watched the Jersey Shore. But like my friends and I actually used to go down for something called Chowder Fest every year, which is in Long Beach Island. And it was literally just a chowder competition and people wore clam hats, but like just the boardwalk and I love the ocean. I can't imagine ever being somewhere where I didn't have easy access to it, because like the sound of the waves, like it's one of the most calming things for me. Like you will absolutely find me like either like on the sea streak, like to the Jersey Shore, or on the ferry out to the Rockaways, like any moment that I have some free time within this job, like because it's just such a calming, beautiful moment for me. So even though I'm from North Jersey, I'm gonna say Jersey Shores, and I'm gonna get made fun of for it, but here we are. Um, and then you said 3, right?
Okay, we can cut it at 2. Those are very, very eloquent answers for the 2.
My third one is disco fries. Disco fries and diners. Everyone's gonna be there and they're like, other places have diners. No, you don't understand. A Jersey diner is its own entity, and like really holds the key to like what diners are supposed to be like. And no, disco fries aren't poutine. They're not the same thing. Poutine has curds. If you go into a Jersey diner and you get disco fries, it's fries, gravy, and they give you the option of American cheese or mozzarella cheese. American cheese is the right answer, but guess if you want mozzarella, you can have it. Whatever. Don't have the gravy on the side. You can't dip it
Wow.
until
I
I got
was
to
with
mozzarella.
you. I was with you until you got to mozzarella, and then
Listen, you
you
can
turned
have
the
it if you want
corner.
it.
Wow. Okay. Okay. But
If
I
someone
have never.
if someone
Okay.
tries to say that
Okay.
you should put the gravy on the side, you shouldn't be friends with that person anymore, because it needs to soak into the fry. You can't dip it. You're not going to get the same gravy moment. So yeah, Jersey diners, like honestly, like post bar, whatever club moment, going to the diner, sitting down in that terrible fluorescent light, which I'm in right now, with that 45,000 page giant ass menu, and you get the same thing every time. And it was like, I would always get I would always get a happy waitress, and then it's like, but can you make my fries disco? That's like how you phrase it, because you're on a whole extra set of fries. And then my friend Mari would always get the pizza fries, and so we would always like have one of each other's, because sharing is caring. But yeah, so that's my third. It took me a second, and I'm actually a little bit mad at myself that I didn't like think of that answer immediately. But yeah, that's definitely it.
Okay, it's all good. And you didn't say pork roll, so we're good. We're good. And it's Taylor ham. So cool. Allie, thank you so much for doing this. I'm gonna let you get out of that very fluorescent light lit closet and get back to your
I know.
evening and the rest of your day. But thank you so much for this. This was a delight and a pleasure, and it's always great seeing you out in the real world. But also, thank you for taking. Cheers.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.